My husband has only ever told me this story. He hasn't told his buddies for fear of being the butt of numerous jokes, but he gave me permission to share it now, since you don't say the names of people who submit stories, unless they put their names in the story. We had recently bought a new house, outgrowing our first home, a one-bedroom, when we found out we were pregnant with our first child. We found a nice 3-bedroom home, wanting to expand our family more in the future. It had a 2-car garage that my husband quickly fell in love with, and a finished basement where we could create a family game room. It was everything we both wanted, and we were beyond excited to move in. When I say my husband was obsessed with this garage, I mean he spent days unpacking and arranging it just perfectly, making sure every tool had a place on the wall and workbench. He was restoring an old Thunderbird in his spare time, so the garage was his favorite place to be every chance he could. And the garage is where the rest of this story takes place. We were getting settled in over the first few days after the big move, so my husband didn't have much time to hang out in his beloved garage, with the exception of unpacking it. Around about the 5th day of unpacking and arranging everything in the house, I knew he was dying to do some work on his car. So I said, "Sweetie, grab a few beers and snacks and head out to the garage. Pretty soon we won't have a lot of alone time," while rubbing my pregnant belly. So he didn't waste any time. He headed out there with his radio and a few cold ones in his hand. I told him I'd follow behind him in a bit with some snacks. He'd been in there probably only 10 minutes when he heard a knock on the door that leads into the mudroom, so he thought I needed him to open the door for me. "There you are, sweetie. Why did you knock on the door? I thought maybe you had your hands full." "I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't knock. I've been in here putting a tray of snacks together," I replied. I sent him back with his snacks and went to prop my feet up and read some in the book I was halfway through at the time. Probably 20 minutes later, I heard a loud curse word thrown out, so I figured I'd better go check it out. "What happened in here?" I said, half laughing because the snack tray and what was left of the snacks were strewn about the garage floor a few feet in front of the workbench. "I don't know how it happened. It wasn't even close to the edge, and I walked by the bench, but I was 2 or 3 feet away from it. There's no way I made it fall," he said, exasperated. "I'll pick this up and call it a night. Apparently I'm just not meant to get any work done out here tonight." The next night, he retreated to the garage again to try to put some part in. I admit, I wasn't paying attention when he said what part it was. I was setting up my new makeup vanity in the master bedroom and making the walk-in closet my own. He said this night he was out there for a good half hour before anything out of the ordinary happened. He was intently working on loosening a clamp on the radiator when something fell off of his tool wall behind him and made him jump. He hit his head on the hood of the car like something out of a cheesy movie. When he turned around, one of his hammers was standing up on its head, handle straight up in the air, swaying ever so slightly. This was hard to explain away. There were no windows open making a breeze. He was very far away from the tool wall. It was above the workbench, and he had his head under the hood of the car. But he explained it away in his head as having fallen off the peg. He figured maybe the peg was just loose. It was at least a few years old, after all, according to the real estate agent when we were seeing the house. The garage had been done about 3 years prior, including a new tool wall, with probably 150 little pegs in the wall to hang any tool you wanted. So after taking a few sips of his beer, he went back to what he was doing. When the clamp was off and he was installing the new hose, he said he felt a presence next to him, almost as if I was standing right there shoulder to shoulder with him. But of course I was in the house, oblivious to any of this. Then, as he started to tighten the new clamp on the new hose, He felt someone, or something, touch the top of his hand, almost as if trying to help him. That's when I thought I heard something in the garage. I wasn't sure what, so I went to check just in case. When I opened the door to the garage, all I saw was my husband lying on the floor, so immediately I panicked and ran over to him, yelling his name. After shaking him and yelling his name a few times, he came to. At this point, I still thought it was some sort of medical issue, because to me it looked like he had collapsed. But as soon as he was able to talk, he explained that he was touched by someone who wasn't there, as he explained it. You mean a ghost? A ghost touched you? I asked, still worried, making sure he didn't hit his head on anything on the way down, because my husband did not believe in the paranormal, nor would he ever entertain the idea of ghosts. He always teased me about being a believer in something so obviously fake. Yes, I mean a ghost. It had to be. No one else was in here with me, and it was definitely someone touching my hand, trying to guide me, like a dad guides a son. We risked sounding crazy, but the next day we called our realtor, who did some digging. It turns out the seller left out something really important that he could have been charged for leaving out. Before he bought the house, an elderly man lived here for years after his wife passed away in a nursing home. Apparently he was big into cars and restored old cars for a hobby and to make a living. So it makes sense that he never bothered me in the house. He was enjoying time in the garage, the place he loved the most. Tell your husband his secret is safe with me. No names were used anywhere in this video or the description, so he still has mad street cred as a manly man. Thank you so much for sharing your husband's story. We haven't had a haunted garage story yet. If you have a paranormal story to share, email it to the address in the description below. Please like the video and subscribe if you haven't. And with that, see you tomorrow, friends.